So you could look at the PPT that I am also sharing right now. So if you just click on screen share option, or if you switch to screen share, then you'll see this PPT. Bhagavad Gita, the word Gita basically means song, and Bhagavat is a derivative of the word Bhagavan. So Bhagavad Gita means song of Bhagavan or song of God. Who is the speaker of Bhagavad Gita? That is Lord Krishna. Who is the hearer of the Bhagavad Gita? Who is the Bhagavad Gita being spoken to? That is Lord Krishna. It's important speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, or is he some special person with magical powers, or is he God? Again, that's we can discuss that in detail, but just today, since this seminar is just a 1 hour seminar, I will just touch upon two things. The first thing is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? He is Bhagavan. So he is considered the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, what is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The Supreme Personality of Godhead means that supreme control over everything in this material creation, who has demigods like to the Supreme Lord, and that is Krishna. Now, why do we consider Krishna to be the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Is because the Shastra, with a lot of evidence and a lot of proof, has given this conclusion. Now, we for spiritual who when they vouch for something, then that is accepted as the word of the Shastra. The first are the great sages, the sages and saints. So what consensus have they reached upon? And the other is the demigods, the devatas, right? The elevated personalities like Lord Brahma, etc., Lord Shiva. What is their opinion on this? So we're not talking about my opinion or some other human being's opinion, or Quora.com's opinion or Google's opinion. We're talking about the opinion of Shastra. We're talking about the opinion of the great sages, the consensus, not just the opinion of one or two people here and there, the consensus. And we're talking about the consensus of all the devatas. So let's have a look. The great sages in the Bhagavad Puran, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, which was a dialogue between Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. So when Shukadev Goswami was speaking Bhagavatam, all the great sages and saints assembled there at Naimisharanya. When Suta Goswami was speaking, and also when Sukadev Goswami was speaking. And so all of them assembled there, including Srila Vyasdev, and then Shukadev Goswami and Suta Goswami, especially in this verse. Suta Goswami, who also heard it over there, he concludes, he says, this is the opinion of all the sages. What is that? Ete chamsa kala pumsa krishnastu bhagavan swayam indrari vyakulam lokam hridayanti yuge yuge. He says that all the above mentioned incarnations, that means before this, in the previous verses, he listed down many incarnations and many expansions of the Lord. And then he says, all of these above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Also then the great demigods. So in the demigods, the devatas, the supreme amongst all of them is Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is the head of all the devatas. And Lord Brahma, in his Brahma Samhita, which is his masterpiece of, after he has created everything, his masterpiece of his realizations. And in that, in the 5th chapter, in the first verse, Lord Brahma says, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadi Radir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. He's saying that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the origin of everything, and he's Sarva Karana Karanam. He's the cause of all causes. Now, by this evidence and the evidence of Shastra, all Kenkan's words in the Bhagavad Gita, they matter, they make sense. They have some importance because it's not just spoken by some normal person. Just like, we have a lot of laws that are created, and a lot of theories that are created, and a lot of various things that are being spoken, and then every now and then they are proved wrong or something new comes. An addition, it becomes better. That means it was not as good earlier and now we've made it better, and then someone comes and makes it even better. That means whatever theories are there, they are not perfect, and therefore you have amendments, and you have additions, and you have improvements. But there has never been any amendment or addition or improvement to the Bhagavad Gita. That is because it is not spoken by an ordinary person like you and I. It is spoken by the Supreme Lord, Swayam Bhagavan, Krishna, who is beyond this material world and beyond the material senses. And therefore, his knowledge is perfect. And thus, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita has stood the test of time. So important to know who's the speaker. That is, the Supreme Lord is speaking. And therefore, these instructions were good enough for Arjuna 5,000 years ago, good enough for us now in 2020 also. And thus, we say, and Srila Vyasadeva says in the Bhagavad Gita also, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is Arjuna? Who's the one who's hearing? Arjuna he was one of the greatest warriors of that time. What was Arjuna doing? Arjuna was ready to fight, and before he's about to fight, he told Krishna, please take my chariot in the middle of the army. This is in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I want to see all these people who have come here assembled to fight with me. And so Krishna, who became the chariot driver of Arjuna, at Arjuna's request, Krishna took the chariot in the middle of the army, and Arjuna saw everybody, and Arjuna became confused. And Arjuna said, I don't want to fight. Now, Arjuna was a Kshatriya. For a Kshatriya's duty is to protect. Shat means protect. Kshatriya means one who protects people from harm. Right? Shat means protecting someone from harm. Kshatriya, Kshatrayate iti Kshatriya. So now Arjuna's duty was to fight, and Arjuna was telling Krishna, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to fight. I will take sannyas. I will go and I will take sannyas. Now, many times, when a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, or they start reading something, or they are browsing some Bhagavad Gita stuff on YouTube, on the internet, their parents or some elders will come and say, what are you doing? That is for later on. ये पढ़ेगा, सब कुछ छोड़ छाड़ के तुम चले जाएगा, अपना duty करो. People get scared when young people take to this because they feel that they will renounce everything. Well, Arjuna wanted to renounce, and Arjuna was telling Krishna, Lord, I don't want to fight. I'll go and take sannyas. Let Duryodhan have everything. I don't care. And then Krishna spoke something, after which, in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna asked Arjuna. In the first chapter, Arjuna tells, Lord, I don't want to fight. I'm done. And then in the end, then Krishna asks Arjuna, after the 18th chapter is over, Krishna said, I'm done speaking whatever I want to. Now you tell me, what do you want to do? Right? Now it's up to you. What do you want to do? And Arjuna said, my Lord, I am ready to fight. That means I am ready to perform my duty. So going from I want to quit, I want to take sannyas, to I am ready to fight, I'm ready to perform my duty, what happened? The Bhagavad Gita was spoken. And thus, the Bhagavad Gita does not make you artificially renounced or, sentimentally renounced from things. The Bhagavad Gita is meant for us to perform our material as well as spiritual duties to the best of our ability. And these are sutras to make us do that. Everything that you buy, an instrument that you buy, an appliance that you buy comes with a manual of how to use it. And when you follow the manual, you will get the most out of that object. Similarly, this is the manual of life. Why should life not have a manual? Your mobile phone has a manual. Your iPhone they'll install a PDF for you, or they'll give you a link to download it, how to use. You have millions of videos on YouTube for how to use practically everything on the planet. how to use a television, how to use a washing machine, how to make this, how to do that, how to study physics for sixth standard, so on and everything. There are books, or there are coaching, or there is guidance for everything. Why not for life? This is the manual for life. So aham bija pradapita, I am the seed giving father of everybody. So when we come, he's already given us the manual. Here is how you can perform all your responsibilities properly without getting into trouble. So Arjuna, his devotee, accepted that, and in the mood of devotion, he heard the Bhagavad Gita in the mood of devotion, and thus Krishna was not speaking secretively. In the year of Arjuna, do this and then do that, and don't tell Duryodhan. He didn't do that. He spoke loudly. The Bhagavad Gita was spoken loudly for everybody to hear, but only few people understood it. Those who were devotees of the Lord, those who accepted there is Bhagwan, and that Bhagwan is Lord Krishna. And in that mood of devotion, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, and Arjuna could understand. Right? So Krishna tells Arjuna also that Bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasya hi etad uttamam. This uttam rahasya, this highest secret, you will be able to understand, Arjuna, because you are my devotee. Right? So to understand Bhagavad Gita, first thing, accept, or at least have this conception, there is a God, and his name is Lord Krishna, and he is the speaker of this Bhagavad Gita, and this Bhagavad Gita was meant for Arjuna to perform his duties. Therefore, everyone from a 5-year-old child to a 95-year-old man, or a woman, this is applicable to everybody in all walks of life. Right? So any misconception, sometimes people say, I don't want to bring this home because it wasn't Bhagavad Gita at home. Read it loudly for your family members, and fights, quarrels, issues will get reduced and minimized, because here Krishna gives so many instructions of how we can lead happy lives. Some basic facts about the Bhagavad Gita. It is real. It is not a myth. Unfortunately, most people, they, including Hindus, they call our scriptures as mythology. The mythology of Mahabharata, the mythology of Ramayana. What does mythology mean? Mythology means myth, mithya. Mithya means that which doesn't exist. Well, if you're going to say that this is mythology, then why should we bother to understand or read it? It's mythology. Then Harry Potter is mythology. Right? If I go to any station, wherever you're from, if you go to your local station, or if you go to your airport, and you take your cart and you run fast and you try and go into a pillar, because that's what Harry Potter does, and then he enters into a magical world. When you go and do it, what will happen? You'll get a bruise on your head, or you may even get a concussion depending on how fast you went. That is mithya, doesn't exist. Magical world, wizards, all these things, they don't exist, right? But our Bhagavad Gita, our scriptures, they are not mythological, they are real. Just think about it. Where was the Bhagavad Gita spoken? Kurukshetra. Do we have a place in India called Kurukshetra? Yes. Where did Lord Krishna appear? Mathura. And then where did he spend some of his time? Vrindavan. And then after that in Dwarka. Do these places exist? Yes. A couple of decades ago, they discovered Dwarka underneath the sea. They excavated. They did some dating. They did some fossil checks. And they found it to be dating 5,000 years back. Guess what do our scriptures say? Krishna was present in Dwarka 5,000 years back. In the scriptures, in the Bhagavad Puran, there are various descriptions of how Dwarka was, including the symbols of the coins that were there in Dwarka. They found those same things. They found the exact same symbols that the scriptures talk about. And they did a fossil check, and it dated to be 5,000 years back. Now, that's not a coincidence. That means Whatever is mentioned in our scriptures is real. When a NASA image shows a line in the ocean between Rameshwaram and Sri Lanka, then we say, yeah, that's true. That can't be fake. When the Ramayana mentions that, we call it mythology. So don't call it mythology. It's real. It's real, and hence it's applicable to you and me. It works. This word, this mythological scripture, was actually given by the British. In the year 1876, a person called Max Muller, he came as part of the East India Company. They had ambitions to rule the country. And then they found out that the backbone of India is actually its spirituality. And we need to break that. If we can break that, then we can show these people that we are superior and they are inferior. They will start to follow us. And the way they found that they can do it is by studying Sanskrit and then misinterpreting our Shastra to show that it's inferior, or it is mythology, or it is kalpana. That's how mythology has come. So remove that from your vocabulary when you talk about our Shastra. It's not myth, it's real. And does it works? What is the goal of the Bhagavad Gita? The goal of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, you may have various kinds of people writing various books on Bhagavad Gita. Someone could say Bhagavad Gita for management, Bhagavad Gita for removing stress, Bhagavad Gita for, whatever, gaining new skills. Let's understand the author of the Bhagavad Gita. What is his motivation, or what is his purpose of speaking the Bhagavad Gita? What's the goal of the Bhagavad Gita? So Krishna, he tells Arjuna that, Arjuna, I want you to abandon all other non-essential activities and surrender onto me. And with that surrender onto me, when you perform all your activities, you will be successful. So the goal of the Bhagavad Gita is to develop devotion for Lord Krishna. And with that devotion for Lord Krishna, we can apply the principles of the Bhagavad Gita, which also help our regular life, our material lives, our duties towards all the various things that we have, our duties towards our family, duty towards our profession, duty towards our society, everything. It all comes from being able to apply these principles of the Gita, and that will be possible when we have some bhakti, some devotion for Lord Krishna. Therefore, bhakti yoga. So the goal of the Bhagavad Gita is to develop devotion for Lord Krishna and to have some sort of surrender for Lord Krishna. And then all these principles are applied. So it's not just meant for being a good manager or being a good problem solver. It's meant for being a good devotee. Couple of more fact checks on the Bhagavad Gita. Is it relevant for today? If you can see your screen, depending on what kind of device you have, but if you have a big enough screen, you'll be able to see this picture. What is this picture? It is Arjuna holding his head like this. Arjuna went from holding his head like this to then saying, I am ready to fight. Do we also every now and then hold our head like this? My God, from where did this 2020 come? It's just, thrown my world upside down. Stress, anxiety, pressure, tension. Do we face that? Yes. Arjuna was going through the same thing. It was applicable to Arjuna. It is applicable to us. We have a lot of modern inventions. We have a lot of gadgets. We have advanced scientifically, but still the problems of life remain. People have stress. People have anxiety. People have so many troubles. Arjuna went through the same thing. This Bhagavad Gita is meant for relieving us of all these unwanted things like anxiety, pressure, stress, etc. So it is very much relevant today as it was 5,000 years ago. The proof is that people across the board who are studying Bhagavad Gita, who are able to apply them in their lives, they are finding happiness in their life. They are being content in their life. Therefore, it works. It's just like they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. The proof that the Bhagavad Gita is relevant is so many people apply it, read it, study it, apply it, and it works. Their lives become better. I, for one, I can vouch for this, that when I started reading the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and in the association of devotees, we started applying it. It's made my life much better than what it was. It's brought in much more peace and happiness, and therefore it is definitely relevant today. Is it scientific? Someone could say, I believe in science. You show me logic. Is it scientific? So Lord Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita says, Pratyakshaavagamam dharmam susukham kartum avyayam. He's saying that this knowledge, Pratyakshaavagamam dharmam, you can analyze it in your practical life, how this knowledge is working, right? You can get proof from your practical experiences. And thus, even great scientists like Einstein, so many of them, including the founder of, the father of India, Mahatma Gandhi, and so many other people, even recently, they say that the Bhagavad Gita has changed my life, or the Bhagavad Gita is so practical for solving so many issues, unwanted issues of life. So therefore, it is very, very scientific, and therefore it is accepted even in the scientist community. Thus, the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita itself. If you want to, if you have interest in understanding Bhagavad Gita, reading Bhagavad Gita, here is some advice that Krishna has. Krishna says in the first verse of the 9th chapter, Idam tute guyatamam pravakshyami anusuyave jnana vijnana sahitam yaj gyatva mokshayashe subhat. Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved from the miseries of material existence. Are we having some trouble in our lives? Like, no one is saying that you may be fully in depression, but do we have some issues in our life? We all have some issues in our life that we would wish would not be there. Krishna is saying that you can get relieved from this. What do you need to do? You need to have some faith in me. Saying, because you are not envious of me, that means because you have faith in me, that I am the Supreme Lord, that I exist, that I am the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, that there is a God, and he is Krishna. Because you have that, Arjuna, therefore you are able to understand this. So again, coming back to the point that Arjuna, because he was a devotee of the Lord, and because he took this in that devotional mood, therefore the Bhagavad Gita was applicable. The spirit of the Bhagavad Gita is to have some devotion, and in that devotional mood, understand or study, and therefore it will work. The first, let's read the first benefit or the first instruction of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, I mean, that was chapter 1. Chapter 2, completely confused. I need your help. Please guide me. Now I want to become a disciple of yours. Please guide me. And then Krishna starts with the first instruction. What is the first foundation of the Bhagavad Gita? It is our real identity. What is our real identity? We've heard this, right? Nothing new. We've all heard this. You're not the body, you're the soul. Our real identity is Atma, spirit, soul, and not the body. So why is this important? First of all, before we get to why is it important, what's the proof that the soul exists? Am I not just this body? Does everything not end when the body is finished? What is the soul? The proof is, the first proof is actually common sense. It's common sense that we're not the body, we're the soul. How? We've all looked at pictures years ago, maybe decades ago you are, and you will see that you look much different. Our body changes. I am 34 years old now. If I look at my photographs when I was 10 years old, I looked much different. Probably you show it to another person, they may not even say that this is the same person. But do I remember things that I did when I was 10 years old? Yes, I do. Can I identify myself in those pictures when I was 10 years old? Yes, I can. Am I the same person in the picture that I am now? Yes, I am. But my body looks completely different. That means who am I? I am the soul, the same person whose body has evolved in due course of time. Science says every minute, right, there are cells in our body which are dying and new cells in our body which are getting created. Right now, we've been talking for 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, various cells in our body would have died and new cells would have cropped up. They say in 7 years, all your cells would change. So in 7 years' time, if you just say that you're a bag of chemicals, well, you're a new person because your body has completely changed. You're not. That means you're not this body. So who are you? The person within the body, the soul. So just common sense. Intuitive understanding. Intuitively also, we don't refer to ourselves as the body. If I raise this, what do I say this is? My hand. If I point here, what do I say this is? This is my head. That's my chest. Those are my arms. Those are my legs. If everything is mine, if everything in this body is mine, then who am I? The person within the body. So just intuitively also, we always say my, we don't say I hand, my hand. So my hand, my leg, everything is mine. So who am I? Again, the person within the body, the soul. And the third proof, and there are various other proofs, just going to discuss three simple ones. The third proof is consciousness. As soon as a person is declared dead, we see the body is lying there. The body looks just the same as it did a few minutes or a few seconds ago when that person was alive. No change, right? In the first few minutes, no change in the body. The body decomposes over time. First few minutes, exactly the same. There is no consciousness has gone. The proof of the soul is consciousness. Right? The consciousness comes from the soul. So these are three simple ways in which we can accept or prove the existence of the soul. Why is it important to know you're not the body or the soul? हम सुनते आ रहे हैं, we've been hearing from at least everyone who's in India, or if you're a Hindu, you've heard this. हम शरीर नहीं है, हम आत्मा है, you're not the body or the soul. Why is it important? Why is it important for Lord Krishna to have included it as his first instruction in the Bhagavad Gita? Benefits of understanding that you are the soul. You get real lasting happiness. We all want happiness. Whatever work we're doing in life is ultimately for some satisfaction, for some peace, for some happiness. But we don't get permanent happiness. We have temporary happiness. We do something, we get some pleasure, we get some satisfaction, we get some happiness, and again there is more hankering. Or things don't go as per our way and then we want something else. So there's no permanent happiness. When you understand that you are not the body or the soul, now whatever we're doing for the body. I'm feeding food for the body. I'm buying comfortable things in my home, a nice sofa, a nice car, a nice house. It's all meant for the pleasure of the body, my body and my loved ones. It's all the bodily platform. I sit on a nice chair, there's some comfort. I drive in a nice car, there's some comfort. I eat opulent food, there's some taste, there's some comfort. It's all to the body. But I'm not the body. And therefore, when I give myself only bodily happiness, it's temporary. I am the person within the body, the soul. Therefore, now when I know that I am the soul, let me find out what gives the soul happiness. Let me feed the soul. Let me give food to the soul. And through that, the soul will be peaceful. The soul means I will be peaceful. I will be content. I will be happy. And thus, when you feed the soul, when you give the soul nourishment, you experience lasting happiness because you are the soul. And the soul can't get permanent happiness by matter. Only the body can get happiness by matter, and bodily happiness is always temporary because it keeps asking for spirituality. Therefore, we all must in our life on a daily basis. We must invest in ourselves. And when we invest in ourselves, 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, whatever you can do to feed the soul, just like you invest in eating lunch, in eating dinner, in eating breakfast, and working out to keep the body fit, keep the soul nourished as well. So have some spiritual practice in your life on a daily basis. On a daily basis, just like you feed yourself on a daily basis, you clean yourself on a daily basis, your body. You give your body rest on a daily basis. Give your soul also some nourishment on a daily basis, and you will get real happiness. Freedom from lamentation. What does that mean? It means we can deal with the death of loved ones in a better way once we know that they and we are souls. Now, I'll just show you 4 verses from the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna talks about this. This is again a lengthy subject matter. If you have interest, we're going to share some programs with you in which you can learn about these things in detail. Since this is a one-time session, I'm just going to be very brief. Here is Lord Krishna in the 13th chapter. Krishna is saying, as the embodied soul continuously passes from in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such change. He's saying the body changes, the soul also changes. The soul is remaining the same in this body which is changing. Similarly at death, the soul just moves on to another body. The soul continues to exist. Then Krishna says, that which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. That means the person who's passed away exists in another body. They have gone on to a newer body. They have gone on, depending on their activities, maybe to a better body or to a better surrounding. But they do exist because that which pervades the body, Krishna is saying, that means the soul is indestructible. Therefore, my relative, my loved one, whoever that may be, who may have passed away, has not died. The body has died, not the soul. And thus, when we pray for them, when we perform activities, good activities on their behalf, they get the benefit because they do exist. Spiritual channels work. And in this way, I can continue to care for my loved ones who've passed away. And my connection with them of love through good activities on their behalf continues, and I can care for them. Therefore, there may be some lamentation in the beginning because that person, we can't reciprocate. But when we understand these things, I can still care for them. They're not gone, permanently finished. It can help me grieve in a better way. And eventually, instead of lamenting, I can then deal with that knowing they do exist and they are in a better body. Krishna again says in the next verse, the 18th verse, the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Guess what? All of us are going to die one day. They say only 2 things are certain, death and taxes. Death is certain. We're all going to die. Yudhishthir Maharaj, when after he won the war and he came back, and before that he had gone through Vanvas, so many things, the sages asked him, Maharaj Yudhishthir, what is the most astonishing thing that you have seen? You've seen so much. You have gone through so much. What's the most astonishing thing you've seen? And he said, the most astonishing thing is death is everywhere, but the person thinks I am never going to die. So here is Krishna preparing us. Every body has to come to an end. And thus, don't be shocked when that happens. One more verse. From the 10th verse to the 30th verse of the 2nd chapter, Krishna 20 verses just talks about the soul. I'm just choosing 4. Krishna says, as a person puts on new garments, giving up old and useless ones, the soul accepts a new body, giving up old and useless one. Either way, what are we saying? We are saying that the soul doesn't die. The soul doesn't die, and therefore there is no need, there is no requirement to lament. Another important aspect of this discussion is when we understand that I'm not the body. Now all of us have various limitations of the body. We may have so many difficulties with the body or with the mind. The mind is the subtle body. Now when I understand these limitations are on the bodily platform, but I am not the body. I am the one who's driving the body. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the soul is Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. That means the soul is countless times more powerful than my mind or more powerful than my senses. And when I nourish the soul and act on the platform of the soul, I can deal with all my mental issues. I can deal with my troublesome mind. I can deal with the limitation of my body, of my senses, and control the senses, channelize the mind, and therefore get more out of life. And thus, we will say positive, Raho, be positive attitude to life. That is possible only when you understand you're the soul and act on that platform by giving nourishment to the soul. Then you will be able to control your mind. And then once the mind is controlled, you are driving the mind and the body rather than now the mind driving you and the body. The second thing, so this is about the soul. If you have any questions, do take to the chat box, and you could send a message asking a question, and we'll do our best to answer. Also, we'll send you an email ID in the end where you could write to us with various questions that you may have, and we will respond to them as soon as possible. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. Yeah. The second instruction here now Krishna is giving is invest in long-term benefits. We all have heard that when we come to our investments, don't invest in short-term, invest in long-term. Everything your parents, our parents used to tell us, don't worry about just going and playing right now. Study. It will give you long-term benefit because you'll grow up to be someone nice. You'll grow up to be someone successful. So Krishna also says the same thing. Don't channelize your energies for short-term happiness. Channelize your energies for long-term benefit. And therefore, in the 40th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Neha bhikramana soti pratnavayorna vidyate swa alpam apiyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayati, saying even a little advancement on this, in this path of spirituality, in this path of bhakti, has no loss, because whatever you do, you continue from there. For example, if someone takes an interest in studying Bhagavad Gita, in becoming a devotee, in having spiritual practices, and they do it for a couple of years and then for some reason they give it up, whenever they get inspired again to restart in life, they will start from where they left off. They will immediately, when they pick up, they'll be back to the progress that they had when they left. If a person leaves his or her body with certain amount of spiritual progress, Krishna says in the next life, they continue from there. That means in the next life, very early on in your life, you will have spiritual inclinations, and the knowledge of the Shastra will make sense to you. You'll bring it with you in your next life from the beginning. And thus, any spiritual endeavors to understand the Gita, endeavors for meditation, endeavors for becoming a better devotee, have long-lasting and permanent benefits. Whereas things in the material world are temporary. We do it and we stop. You do a course, you stop after a while. at least in this country, you can't start it again. You start a weight loss program, you give it up after a while, the weight comes back. Anything, you start cooking, you give it up after a while, it's done. The endeavor is spoiled. And ultimately, death takes everything away. I may earn a lot of money, I may have a lot of things, but I know at the time of death, I can't take anything with me. So my material endeavors, while no one is saying don't do it, by all means, we all should work hard. Krishna made Arjuna do his responsibilities, but along with our material responsibilities, we have responsibilities towards ourselves. That is the soul, and thus, when we perform spiritual activities, we get lasting benefit, and those benefits continue. They are not at any time. We are not forced to give them up, just like we're forced to. Our material benefits they are temporary, they go away, or maximum they will be there till the body is there, but spiritual activities, they continue. So therefore, Krishna says, invest in your spiritual life as well. It's the thing that is going to make you deal with your material problems in a proper way. Spiritual solutions to material problems. Okay, yeah. Mandar Prabhu, do we have some questions till now? Maybe we can take one question we can take now.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So one question just got was with reference to, can we see God with our eyes currently? That's the only question that I have received so far.
Okay, yeah. We can see God, but we need, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita itself that we can't perceive things with our blunt material senses. Just like there is something behind this wall, I can't see it right now because the curtain is there. My vision is stopped, or I'm wearing spectacles. If I remove them based on whatever number I have, I can't see because my eyes have limitation. My ears have limitation of hearing. I can hear only within a certain range of sound, and that also has to be nearby. My vision has a certain range. My body has limitations, right? Therefore, we can't expect that we can do everything with this body. Now, we can perceive the presence of God everywhere. We can perceive the presence of the Lord. We can feel the presence of the Lord. We can also see the Lord. But we need spiritual vision for that. We need spiritual training for that. And that comes through the Bhagavad Gita. And when we have this training, when we have this thing, then we can see. Then when we go to the temple, that is no longer a patthar ka murti or a metal ka murti. That is Swayam Bhagavan. The Lord is present in everyone's heart. He's present in creation. When we study the Bhagavad Gita, we can perceive the presence of the Lord in creation. Krishna says in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Rasoham apsu kaunteya. I am the taste of water. Prabhasmi sashi shuryaya. I am the light of the sun. Pranava sarva vedeshu. I am the syllable Om. Shabdakhe paurusham rishu. I am the ability in man. So in these ways, we can perceive the presence of the Lord. So yes, we can see the Lord, we can perceive the Lord, but for that we need training. And when we get trained up through the process of spiritual knowledge, then we can see. Okay, thank you for your question. So if others have questions on anything we've discussed till now, then what we'll do is we'll send you an email ID and you could write to us, and then we could get back to you just in the interest of time.
So one more question, yes, Prabhu, we have received with reference to soul, that whether the soul maintains its identity after death. What happens to the soul? If you could just.
That's a good question. Yes, the soul does maintain, because Krishna said the soul is imperishable. That means it can't get perished, it can't get destroyed. And Krishna says you maintain your individuality, and therefore the soul maintains its individuality as it moves on into the next body. Again, if you have, if you are keen to know more, Please read Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 10 to verse 30. Chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, 10th shloka to 30th shloka. Those 20 shlokas, Krishna in detail talks about the soul. Okay. Continuing. The next foundation in the second chapter that Krishna mentions is how to avoid a frustrating situation. We all go through various difficult situations in our life that frustrate us. How can we avoid them? The verse that Krishna speaks is the 62nd and 63rd verse of the Bhagavad Gita, which is Dhyayato Vishayam Pumsam Sangaste Supajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Smriti Vibrama Smriti Bramshat Buddhinasha Buddhinashat Pranashyati. Again, now if you see whatever I am speaking, I am quoting Shastra. I am giving you Sanskrit verses and their meaning. So it's not just, we are talking from our mind or whatever we think of. We're backing it up with words of Shastra. Krishna is saying, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. Let's break this up. Dhyayato Vishayam Pumsam Sangas Tesu Pajayate. It means while contemplating on the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, desires. Here is an image of a crack in a wall. When a crack appears, it's very small. It seems very innocent. It seems of no harm. No harm can come from a crack. But if left unattended, it grows, and then it has the ability to destroy the entire wall, the entire dam, an entire building. All starts with one small crack. Therefore, that up. Now, what are cracks that we are talking about? They are desires, unlimited desires that we have. We look at things and our mind tells us, I want it, I want it, I want it. And then I want this, I want that, ye bhi chahiye, wo bhi chahiye, I need it. And then what that brings is, then there is this lust. Lust means excessive desire for having it. Then what do we do with that is that we hanker for it and we work hard for it. Now, two things may happen. One is I get what I want, or the other is I don't get what I want. Now, when I don't get what I want, I get frustrated, I get angry, I get disappointed. If I get what I want also, we have experience. All of you just think of some things. We have experience in life that whenever we get something, we think, done. This promotion, now I'll be peaceful. This relationship, now I'll be peaceful. Just like a child says, Mummy, this one toy, I'm never going to ask you for any other toy after this toy. We all have done it also. Many people are smiling. And we know that he's going to or she's going to ask another toy in due course of time. Same thing with these desires. Now, mil bhi gaya jo chahiye tha. After a while, what happens is the euphoria wears out. Right? Anything starts giving diminishing returns. And then again, there are some desires. So then we get again irritated or frustrated that, oh, even after this, I'm not satisfied. So, kamat krodho bhi jayate. And that frustration, it leads to disappointment, it leads to anger. The mind just goes on. Now I want this, I want that. And I work so hard for it. And in spite of that, I am not satisfied. That's when we get frustrated. Not when we don't work for it. When we don't work for it, fine. But when we are hardworking people and we work for it, and then after getting something also, we are not satisfied or the satisfaction level goes down. That's when we feel, itna mehnat karke bhi life mein stress hai. Itna stress hai. Where does does that come from? That comes from then this desire from that and what that. It is a function of the mind. Therefore, to avoid frustration, what do we need to do? We need to get the mind in control, and we need to understand one principle, which is what? That the goal of this human life, what distinguishes us from animals, animals also eat according to them nice food, animals also sleep, animals also reproduce, they also have their parampara, animals can also protect themselves. What is the difference between us and animals? The difference between us and animals is that we can distinguish, we can differentiate, we can apply our intelligence these topics into understanding that matter has never brought me permanent happiness. No amount of money, no amount of facility can bring permanent happiness. Now, I don't need to prove this. We all have such experiences. And thus, control those thoughts from the beginning when they come, when that small crack appears. अच्छा लग रहा है ये. New iPhone, new car. My neighbor has got a car. My car, I need to change because that is going to bring happiness, prestige. Right there, nip it in the bud. Cover the crack. Because otherwise, it's going to lead to a big desire. And it's going to lead to a burning desire for which then you will endeavor and eventually, inevitably, not get that much rasa, that long-term happiness that we thought or we expected that thing to get us. Therefore, the mind, to avoid frustration. How can we control the mind? Control, and it's possible because today we just heard from Lord Krishna, from the instructions of Lord Krishna. You're not the body, and therefore you're not the mind. You are the soul, the driver of the body and the driver of the mind, who is millions, trillions, gazillion times more powerful than the mind. Arjuna in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita told Krishna, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. My mind is chanchal. Anyone here? Chanchal mind? Those of you who have your video on, you want to raise your hand? If your mind races here and there every now and then? Yes, Mr. Devi Prasad has raised his hand. So I and Mr. Devi Prasad are on the same level. Everyone feels the same way. Pranav has raised his hand electronically. Young generation, they know how to use technology. We all experience that. The mind is chanchal. What did Krishna give the solution? Krishna said, Abhyasena tu kaunteya. Arjuna, by practice, you can control the mind. So now, and we're going to conclude with this. I'm just going to leave you with 3 things in which we can nourish the soul, and thus we, the soul, will be able to control the mind and control the senses, and thus avoid these frustrating situations. Higher engagement for the mind, mantra meditation. Krishna says in the 59th chapter of the 59th verse, of the 2nd chapter, he says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina ras Rasavaryam rasoapyasya tam drishtva nivartate. Higher vice president or whatever position you want or whatever. Now, when you give your mind something that gives much more happiness than that, then the mind says, okay, fine. I'll work for that. I'll work hard. Promotion milas to, my role is to perform my duty. Karma nevadi karaste ma phaleshu kadachana. That is also in the 2nd chapter. How can we apply that? By this, right? The first way, giving higher engagement to the mind, is mantra meditation. We must all remove some time for performing some mantra meditation in our daily life. Daily remove 5 minutes, 10 minutes and perform some mantra. The word mantra is actually coming from the word mana trayate iti mantra. That which protects the mind from unwanted disturbances is called mantra. So when we chant the names of God, the mind becomes protected, the mind becomes calm, the mind comes under our control, and this is fuel for the soul. So mantra meditation on a daily basis. You want your mind to become peaceful, you need to perform this abhyas. Right? We want to become spiritual people, we have to work hard for it. Just like we've become whatever we've become, chartered accountants, engineers, doctors, businessmen, students, professionals, we've studied, we've gotten trained, we've worked hard. Similarly, you want to control the mind, you want to become a spiritual person, you want to act on the platform of the soul, work hard for it. Practice mantra meditation. So we recommend chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. 5 minutes, 10 minutes every day. Controls the mind. Controls the mind. Second thing, knowledge from Shastra. Therefore, use now daily where we all read Bhagavad Gita together. Every night, one shloka. And in this way, every night you just log in for 10 minutes and you can get your connection with Bhagavad Gita continues. Knowledge from Shastra. We must all have this inclination for studying the scriptures. Just like we study various things to gain knowledge, don't get your spiritual knowledge from Google. Get it from the Gita. Get a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, start reading it. And we have a program where you can, read it with us in a guided way, where then we offer some explanation also. Knowledge from Shastra. And the third thing is association with like-minded people. Find some spiritual people around you, find some people who have similar interests, meet them on a regular basis, and then you will get inspiration and you will get some motivation to take to the spiritual platform. So when we do these things, mantra meditation, study Shastra every day, it does not mean, open book in an ideal scenario and read 5 minutes also of studying of Shastra, 10 minutes. And we associate with people who have spiritual inclinations. Then the mind gets higher taste. The soul gets nourished. The soul controls the mind is under control. And then the mind suddenly says, I don't really need that. I'm not too sure about that. The intelligence becomes sharp. And in that scenario, then you can perform your duty without desiring the fruits. Because otherwise, how is it now when you get, higher nourishment, when the mind is peaceful, when the soul is nourished, then suddenly you think, I'm content, I'm peaceful in my life. Whatever I have, it's enough. Now, if I work hard and something comes, that's fine. If it doesn't come, that's fine. That is karma nevadi karaste. So through these three ways, if we are serious about controlling the mind, if we're serious about becoming, getting lasting happiness, then we must invest in ourselves. Ourselves means our soul. And these are three ways: mantra meditation, knowledge from Shastra, and associating with devotees, that is possible. So this is what I'm talking about. Every night at 9 p.m. We have a program wherein we read Bhagavad Gita together. I conduct that. So we chant first of all the shlokas, and then we take one verse, we read the English translation, we read Srila Prabhupada's explanation, and then I give a 1 or 2 minute explanation to that. And in this way, over a period of 1 year, you will complete the entire Bhagavad Gita. It's just, you require 10-15 minutes every night at 9 p.m. So this goes on. The app is called Free Conference Call. And the meeting ID is NPDAS. You could take a screenshot of this if you like. If you have given us your email ID or phone numbers, we'll share this with you. If you have not, you could use this time now on the chat box to send your email ID or send your name and mobile number privately to just the host, and we will send you these details. So if you're interested, you could join daily for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, Bhagavad Gita discussion. Also, we have a weekly class. We have a weekly Bhagavad Gita webinar, which happens every Saturday evening. This was just an overview. Every Saturday, then we'll pick 4 or 5 shlokas and go deeper into it and discuss practical applicability of it. So same meeting ID as this, every Saturday at 7 p.m. That happens, and that is conducted sometimes by me and sometimes conducted by our Mandar Thatte Prabhu, who is part of our team, who's been a devotee for many, many years. And he is very well versed and very knowledgeable in the Shastra, and he's a very good teacher. He's actually a very senior person in Western Union, and he conducts these sessions. So you're free to join that. These are all free of cost. And so if you do these things, then you can stay further in touch with the Bhagavad Gita. This is our email ID. If you have any questions, gitaclassonline@gmail.com. You could write to us. Whatever questions you may have, you can write to us. And within a day or two, we will reply to you. So just to summarize, we discussed today our real identity as the soul. First, we discussed about some facts about the Bhagavad Gita. Then we discussed about the identity of Lord Krishna. And then we discussed our identity as the soul and benefits of knowing we are the soul. Then we spoke about investing in our spiritual life, daily performing mantra meditation, studying from Shastra. And in this way, feeding the soul, and then the soul powering the mind and the body to achieve what you want to. And we discussed about how to avoid frustrating situations by spiritual engagements. And if we apply, I guarantee you, if you follow these things daily in your life, within a month, you will see change. You will see positivity. You'll be a happier person. We need to work hard for it, and we need to inspire Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says, after many, many births and deaths, one achieves the rare human form of life, which, although temporary, affords one the opportunity to attain the highest perfection. Thus, a sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection of life, as long as his body, which is subject to death, has not fallen down and died. After all, sense gratification is available even in the most abominable species of life, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human being. So we've got this human form of life. It's not just meant to get material pleasure. Understanding we are the soul, feeding the soul, nourishing the soul, acting on that platform. That's what this human life is meant for. And then you can perform your material duties as well properly. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is a sutra of instructions for performing our duties in life, both material and spiritual. And if we do it, we will experience peace and happiness in our life. So that's it for me today. If you are interested to know more, you could join our nightly reading sessions of the Gita, 15 minutes, wherein we discuss one shloka. That happens at 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time. The app is called Free Conference Call. And the meeting ID is NPDAS. Again, if you share your details, those of you who have, we'll send you this information. And also, if you're interested further to delve deeper into the Bhagavad Gita, do join our weekly classes every Saturday at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time on this same meeting ID. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for removing your time. And Mandar Prabhu, can we take 1 or 2 questions if there are?
Sure, Prabhu. One question was listening to Krishna Katha, will it help develop devotion? So maybe you can guide on the regular hearing.
Yes, yes. So it does, because that is also spiritual sound vibration. So when we have this spiritual sound vibration, it does help us progress, because the soul, this is again these things. So it does work.
So one more question, Prabhuji, was there on the higher taste, which we, the verse which you refer to.
I have a question. Someone is asked.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
This is Vinod Kumar Shukla. Does soul change? So yeah, the soul remains the same. The body grows. Okay. All right. So if you have any questions, do write to us at geetaclassonline@gmail.com. Our Kashyap Prabhu has sent that on the chat box, and we would be happy to hear from you. Also, if you're interested to attend our sessions, we've given you the information. I am going to post it again one more time here. So this is our nightly call. It happens every night for 15 minutes. So if you want to just remove, just like an SIP, removing little time is not difficult. So the app is called Free Conference Call, and the meeting ID is NP Das. And then we have a weekly Gita class, same meeting ID, Zoom ID, and you can join us there. Can we conclude, Mandar Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, we are over time by about 18 minutes, but thank you. Thank you very much for removing time and conducting this wonderful session. And just want to thank on behalf of everyone. So we have given the email ID also. Yeah, we have given email ID to everyone, and we are requesting everyone to update their email as well as mobile number so that we can reach out to them and add them, provide them with the details of the 9 p.m. session that we have, as well as the weekly session. Yes, Prabhuji, you can conclude. Yeah.
Great. So thank you very much for joining. Do take interest in your spiritual lives. Do invest in your spiritual lives. And there is a world of happiness waiting, even if no other situation in life changes. And that will be possible by taking to this process of devotional life. There is one question from Neha Singh. So have you shared your email or number with us? Earlier? Not yet. So if you can just send it to me, I'll send you a reply to your question. Since we're running out of time, we'll reply to you. Just send me your details. Okay. And others, thank you very much for joining us. And we hope to see you again soon. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.